Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Center Podcast. I'm Emilia Zhivatovskaya, your host and founder of the Flourishing Center. We are training the change agents of the world and equipping them with research-based tools for healthy, happy, and successful living. And we're so grateful that you're here. Each episode features 3 sections. First is the Science Says section, where we summarize a recent research study and show you how to put the science into action. Next, we give you a research-based life hack with simple strategies for incorporating positive psychology into your life for greater well-being. And then our Practitioner Corner is where we interview someone who's out there living, breathing, and spreading positive psychology in their own unique way. Learn about how they're growing their personal and professional work and get inspired with strategies for how you might use positive psychology in your own life. Thanks for listening, and let's dive in. Welcome everyone. Today's episode includes a new research study that has just come out looking at what impact physical activity makes on our emotional response to stress. During our life hack, we look at how to get yourself moving. And no, it's not yet another recommendation to join a gym or to participate in more exercise. And join me for our Practitioner Corner, where I introduce you to Lydia, a positive psychology practitioner from the land down under that is a coach, a consultant, and a speaker. Let's dive in, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Today's research article has been recently published in the Journal of Health Psychology titled Physical Activity and Negative Affect Reactivity in Daily Life. We know that research shows that physical activity improves our mood, so much so that some people would argue that exercise makes such an impact on depression and how we feel that not exercising is equivalent to taking a pill that makes you depressed. Think about it. If I were to say, here's a bottle of pills, and I promise you that if you take this pill, you will feel bad. You will feel down, you will feel grumpy, you will feel irritable, and you'll just feel bad. Would you take that pill? Most likely not. And many researchers argue that physical activity makes such an impact on our well-being that it is equivalent to taking a depressive. This particular research study aimed to identify what impact does physical activity make on positive affect, which is positive emotions, or a reduction in negative affect, which is negative emotions. In particular, to what extent would physical activity buffer against reactivity, which is described as the changes in our emotional response to the experiences that we have in day-to-day life. They wanted to understand whether physical activity may decrease our experience of negative emotions, in particular by altering our responses to daily stressful events. In this study, they brought 2,022 participants into a study of their daily stressors, their emotional state, and their health behaviors. They conducted interviews with these participants and asking them questions about their emotional states and the types of stressors that they've experienced over the past 24 hours, along with any health behaviors that they would have taken on and physical symptoms. What they found was that there wasn't a relationship between physical activity and stressors, meaning it wasn't that the people who were physically active had more or less stress than people who were not physically active during that 24-hour period of time. However, they did find a relationship between negative affect. What they found was that physical activity was not related to the amount of stress that people experienced, but instead, it was related to their reactivity and how they processed the events that they were going through. Although both physically active participants and non-physically active participants experienced an increase in negative emotions on stressor days compared to stress-free days, those who were physically active did not increase at the same extent as those who were less physically active. They found as much as a 14% reduction in negative emotions on those stressor days compared to less stressful days, but only amongst the participants who were active, not those who were underactive. And when they looked at reactivity, they found a 17% reduction in reactivity in the participants who had reported a bout of exercise compared with the days without exercise, regardless of their general activity status. This is really great news. This says that even if you're not physically active, just becoming physically active, you can begin to tap these benefits. And I find this really interesting because I don't know about you guys, but I am much more snippy on days when I have not moved my body. And one of the indicators to myself that I need to up my exercise is exactly that. I start to become a little bit more irritable than I normally am. And I think to myself, have a few days gone by without my exercising? It's time to get some of those stress chemicals out of my body. So in summary, what they found is that while physical activity may not reduce the likelihood of the occurrence of stressful events, this study suggests that it may bolster our capacity to psychologically manage the stressor in a more effective way, not just by increasing our experience of positive emotions, but possibly making us less reactive to the stressful events when they do occur. I bet this research has you thinking, how might I add more physical activity to my day? And that's the topic of our next life hack. Today's life hack is about how to get yourself moving. In particular, a type of movement called N.E.A.T. N.E.A.T stands for Non-Exercise Activity Thermogenesis. Gosh, that was so much fun to say. I'm going to say it again. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is the energy that we expend for everything that we do that is not sleeping, eating, or sport-like exercise. It can include everything from walking to work, taking the stairs, typing on your computer, putting the dishes away, performing yard work, and even fidgeting. Many people underestimate the fact that our movement is cumulative throughout the day, and they think that the only way to get themselves physically active is to go to the gym or to go for a run or to go for a swim or join a sports club. Research on N.E.A.T shows that we could actually burn calories and increase our well-being just by upping our N.E.A.T exercises. And I want to give you ideas on some of the ones that I do throughout the day that keep me moving. Firstly, I do my best to work at a variable workstation. This means that sometimes I'm standing, sometimes I'm walking at my desk, sometimes I'm on a bike or a balance board, other times I'm sitting, and I do my best to vary how my body is in space while I'm working. Also, when I'm standing around or when I'm having a conversation or if I'm waiting online, I will perform different body movements that just keep my body moving in a variety of shapes. My favorite is to just take a few lunges. I'll take one step back with a foot, I'll bend my front knee and let my back knee come down to the ground. I'll do just a few quick little lunges just to help my hips come into alignment. I'll also take a few little squats just to get my glutes involved. Maybe I'll stretch, bringing my hands down towards the floor so I could stretch my lower back. I'm frequently stretching my shoulders and my neck because I type a lot at the computer. And so I'm stretching my neck and rolling my shoulders and stretching my arms up to the sky and stretching side to side. These little teeny tiny movements, if I do them throughout the day, can help my body maintain more physical activity. And again, N.E.A.T exercises are cumulative. So even if it's fidgeting or stepping side to side, these movements can help us up our total experience of physical activity. And when we combine that with physical activity that includes getting our heart rate up through small bouts of high-intensity interval training, and we give our body the opportunity to do some cardiovascular training where we push our heart for distances, we start to get our body into an optimal space and we start to maximize not just the benefits of physical activity for our health, such as keeping our heart healthy, keeping our cholesterol levels down, keeping our blood sugar levels down, but we also get the emotional benefits, as mentioned in our Science Says section, that we boost our positive emotions and we're decreasing our negativity and our reactivity to situations. So I invite you to consider, how can you get more movement into your life? Can you park your car further away from the door? Can you take the stairs whenever they're available instead of the escalator or the elevator? Can you fidget a little bit more, stepping side to side next time you're on the grocery line? Or challenge yourself to use shopping carts that you're holding rather than the ones on wheels. Do some bicep curls while you're at it. Every little bit counts. And just simply having a mindset where you're on the lookout for how I can add more physical activity will be the first step towards building this within your life. So give it a try and let us know how it goes. And remember, our motto in Mind, Body Medicine and Positive Psychology is that self-care is healthcare, and this body is the car that you drive for the rest of your life. So take good care of it. Hello, dear listeners. Today we have positive psychology practitioner and corporate trainer Lidia Doncova-Macri with us. She's tuning in from Sydney, Australia. Lydia is the creator and founder of ChangeToThrive.com, and she is going to share with us some of the amazing things she's been up to in helping spread positive psychology, not just in Australia, but all over the world. Something that you might not know about Lydia is that she loves folk dancing, and I just think that is so incredible because you don't meet many folk dancers on a day-to-day basis. So we're excited to have Lydia here and get to know her and what she's up to in the world. Lydia, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Amelia. It's always a pleasure.
Lydia, I know you have a unique background because you didn't always start off working within positive psychology. I know you have a background in architectural design and engineering. Tell us more about the circuitous route that brought you to positive psychology.
Yes, I was born in Bulgaria, Sofia, Bulgaria. And that's where I did I always wanted to be a psychologist. Actually, at that time, I was thinking that I want to be a psychiatrist because in communist Bulgaria, there was no such thing as psychologists and, God forbid, positive psychologists. So my idea was to become a psychiatrist. Things didn't turn out the way how I wanted them. And I ended up finishing a college, which made me sort of half engineer and half architect. In 1986, I migrated to Australia, continued with my job. But this thing about psychology always stayed in the back of my mind. I always was reading books about psychology. I was looking at any opportunity I can have to connect to psychology. And somewhere in my 40s, I decided that I have the other priorities which I had in my life. I have stepped back and I can go back to university and study about psychology. And that's how I finished my degree with Macquarie University, which is in traditional psychology. However, towards the end of my education, I was thinking that I don't have really anything practical to offer to clients. And that's how I came across positive psychology.
That's awesome, Lydia.
Yeah, when I discovered positive psychology, it was like epiphany. It was like, oh yes, yeah, that's what I think. And that's what I think. Oh, there is a support of my thoughts and my understanding of the world. So it was really a match made in heaven, I would call it.
That's awesome, Lydia. And what are some of the things that you're doing with positive psychology today?
I work with companies and help them look at how can they build positive culture in their company and how can they improve their bottom line by looking into what's good and what is working within their company and within their people, looking into strengths and looking into positivity.
And what are some of the topics within positive psychology that resonate the most with your audiences?
Well, mindfulness to start with, then strengths. People are really excited when they find out how they can look at what they have in a positive way, how they're not looking into their deficits and what they cannot do in life, but what are they. And majority of us have really good vocabulary when it comes to what we cannot do. But when I ask somebody, well, tell me about your strengths, normally there is not much. I'm sort of good in maths, they'll say. And on the end, maybe you end up with something, I'm a good person. But that's as far as we go. Like everybody defines themselves with what they can do practically. Like I can draw, I can dance, but nobody comes out and say, hey, I'm brave, or I am really in tune with people around me. And so this building of a vocabulary with words of strength really excites people. And the people which are the mostly opposed to this idea, when I introduce it, become the best advocates.
I love that, Lydia. It's like the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Exactly.
It's like the more resistant they are, The more when they actually experience positive psychology, it just blows their mind.
Yes.
Lydia, I'm curious, what are your top strengths?
The interesting thing about strength is that they change. So depending on what area in life, well, not drastically. So I'm not prudent. So I'm never going to be there, like it's in the bottom of on my list. But as I started studying about positive psychology, my top strengths were love, hope, and social intelligence. What is interesting about it is that when I started practicing positive psychology, social intelligence, I tested myself, maybe it was a couple of years after I started my studies, and I was practicing well into my first year. Social intelligence had stepped up to number one. So I was getting more and more in tune with what others are seeking and what they need.
That's awesome, Lydia. Thank you so much for sharing your strengths with us. And I'm curious, what are some of the self-care practices within positive psychology that have impacted you the most?
Yes, mindfulness. Meditation is something which I knew about for a long time, and I've been trying to practice for years. And I didn't know what I'm supposed to feel. I couldn't just put my finger on it of what I'm supposed to do. I knew what to do, but not exactly. And I wasn't getting results as I was thinking that I should be getting it. So the biggest self-care aspect of positive psychology is mindfulness for me. I always thought that the more I do, the more I can pack at the same time, and then I do better. And I'm very prone to accidents. And so I will hit my hand or my leg, and I'll have all sorts of unbelievable stories to tell. And the main reason for that is that I have never been mindful. I never had the art of mindfulness to do one thing at a time. And now I am getting better and better, and I'm feeling that I have control over this part of my character, which wasn't serving me well, and I knew that I had to change. So I meditate regularly, and I always been very cool, like calm and collected, and able to control stress. However, what I have noticed that when I'm practicing mindfulness now, I'm able, for example, to taste the food better because I taste what I'm eating, really. I'm thinking about what I'm eating, to enjoy and be present in the moment, and to be able to devote all of my attention to the task which I have at hand. It's not perfect, so it doesn't come easy, but it's not difficult either. So you just need to keep at it.
Lydia, I couldn't help but laugh inside when you said that you used to get into accidents all the time, because lately my boyfriend has been referring to me as being clumsy. And I'm going, what are you talking about? I am incredibly coordinated. And then he goes, no, you'll do random things. Like, you hurt me all the time. And I'm going, what are you talking about? And then I realized, like, he's right. Like, stupid little things will happen. Like, the other day we're laying in bed and I was using my cell phone, which is just a terrible thing for relationships, right? To be cuddling in bed with your partner, using your cell phone. I accidentally, I can't believe I'm admitting this on the podcast, I dropped the phone on his head. And he said, see, you're always hurting me. And I'm going, wow, like, I think you're right. Like, I think I need to up my mindfulness when I'm around him, because in general, I think of myself as a pretty coordinated person. I do lots of things, but all of a sudden, I guess either my guard is down. I tell him, it's just because I'm so relaxed when I'm around you. You know, I'll kick him in bed or something. I don't know. It's just so funny. I'm like, I think I'm becoming clumsy.
That's where it comes from. Yes, be mindless.
Well, along with those lines, what tip would you offer people if they wanted to become more mindful?
I'll start with very little steps. And I know that everybody says start with little steps, but what is a little step? And everybody has to define for themselves what a little step is really. But for example, set 1 minute and on your telephone and find times. Let's say you're watching television and there is this constant commercials which are just driving me up the wall. I don't know, maybe other people too. And press your alarm and go for it. Have a mindful moment, have a mindful minute in which you close your eyes, you straighten your back, you sit sort of comfortably, touching and knowing where you are, and take deep breaths, like take 5 in, 5 out, 5 in, 5 out. It will go just like that, like a breeze. And what it does, it will acquaint you with the feelings of what you're supposed to feel. And then you can increase later on. Just make it your own. Whatever who is telling you what to do with mindfulness, I suggest you take the information, absorb it, and make it your own. Something which works for you.
Beautiful, Lydia. Thank you so much. Lydia, what do you think some of the biggest obstacles people face when they're trying to become happier or increase their well-being?
Yes, that's an excellent question. We all have a different idea of what to be happy is. And a lot of the ideas we take from movies, and Hollywood is a big distortion of ideas of what happiness is. I think that there is this unrealistic expectations of the world which we're trying to fulfill and fit into the way how we supposed to look and what are we supposed to drive and where are we supposed to go for holidays. And actually happiness is all within. It is just amazing how much it depends on the way you feel. And you need to know yourself really in depth to learn who you are. Sometimes you may surprise even yourself with some reactions in the way you react towards the world. And I think that comes because we don't spend enough time to look at or to be kind to ourselves. And I work with people who have chronic pain. I facilitate classes for them. And it is amazing to listen how important language is when you talk to yourself. So how important it is to tell yourself, I'm going to be kind to myself and not overdo it. And instead of saying, I'm afraid, then I'm not going to do, then I'm going to be in pain if I overdo it. So do you see the difference? One is I am kind to myself, and the other one is I'm afraid for the same virtually emotion. So it's important to listen to our inner voice. It's important to listen to our words and to be kind to the others, kind to yourself.
Yeah, and it's so hard for us to be kind to ourselves, right? It's like such an ingrained tendency that we have to beat up on ourselves for no reason.
Yes, and not only that, but to serve others before we serve ourselves. And if you think about it, when you're on an airplane and they instruct you to put the mask on yourself first, because if you're not alive, what good are you to the others? And it's the same story with us in every day. If we keep on serving others and we don't put the oxygen mask to ourselves, then how are we to serve the others?
And Lydia, tell us, what are some of the different services that you offer people that are interested in working with you?
Well, I work as a coach, organizational, executive, life coach, and I offer flourishing skills groups, which teach people of how to navigate through life and bend but not break. Mindfulness classes, which will teach you how to be mindful, the science behind it, and what is the best way to get to mindfulness. And I work with organizations, teaching them how to install positive culture in their company, how to make employees part of a energizing company culture, which is very important, where people care and it is transparent, and you just go there on Monday and you say, yay, it's Monday. I'm happy that I'm going to work. So that's my main focus at the moment. Actually, I work a lot with organizations.
Lydia, do you have any closing thoughts for our listeners?
When somebody tells me that they cannot change the world, I'm too little and I'm too insignificant and I don't matter, I say, well, how can you not change the world? You can change yourself. You've got power over yourself. You're happier. If you're happier, then there is one less miserable person in this world. We hear a lot about wars and what is happening in the rest of the world, which is unpleasant. But we are so much lacking on good news. So we have to seek actively the good news within us and within our society. And that's how we should change the world, one at a time.
Beautiful, Lydia. Thank you so much. Thank you, friends, for listening. Do go to Lydia's website. Check out some of the things that she is up to. If you are tuning in from Australia or Sydney, Australia, find Lydia, find her courses and her workshops, and check out what she is up to. Go to www.change2thrive.com. Lydia, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Amelia. As always, pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you'd like a little bit more positive psychology under your belt, check out our website, www.theflourishingcenter.com, and click on the Start Here button for a free introductory course into positive psychology. Also, if you're interested in becoming a practitioner of the science, meaning you are passionate about helping people, you're interested in perhaps being a coach or a motivational speaker or a consultant, and you want to know how are people putting positive psychology into practice professionally, check out our website, take our 5I questionnaire quiz. This will tell you, based on your way of being in the world, which career path might be the best path for you in positive psychology. And of course, check out our spring 2018 lineup of programming that we have all over the US and Canada and online internationally. We have our next certification in applied positive psychology program coming up. And if you have any questions at all, reach out to us. We'd love to connect with you. And until we connect next, may the force be with you.